Okay, gotta say, this one's a curveball. A whole podcast script about philosophy and happiness.
Huh?
Color me intrigued. Where'd you even dig this up?
Yeah, not our usual source material, that's for sure. But this script, it's got this, surprisingly practical side, too. Not just heady stuff.
See, and I'm always up for anything that'll unlock, the secrets of the universe. Or at least how to be happy. This isn't just theory, though, right? You said there's a Harvard study in the mix.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The script uses it as almost like real-world proof. Like ancient philosophers meet actual research. Could be some really cool connections in there for us.
I'm game if you are. So this script, it just dives right in, huh? Says happiness, it's not a solo mission.
Straight to the good stuff. And they bring in Aristotle to back it up. Eudaimonia, ring a bell.
Right, eudaimonia. It's one of those words that sounds way more complicated than it is.
Totally. But basically, it's not just fleeting happiness. It's more flourishing, living a life with real meaning.
And a big part of that, according to Aristotle, was what? Contributing to something bigger, often through the relationships we have.
Bingo. It's like those philosophers, they were onto something fundamental about being human. Wouldn't you say?
Makes you think. So it's not just anytime relationships then, right? This script seems to get pretty specific.
You picked up on that. It gets kind of deep, even brings in those existentialist thinkers. Sartre, de Beauvoir, that crowd.
Sartre, isn't he the hell is other people guy? Not exactly encouraging for the whole happiness thing.
See, that's the thing about famous quotes. They get taken out of context. Sartre, he wasn't saying to avoid people altogether. More like he was highlighting how complex relationships can be. Essential, but messy.
So less run for the hills, more proceed with caution.
Much better. And that's where someone like Simone de Beauvoir comes in. She was all about this idea of authentic relationships, where you respect each other's freedom, you don't try to change each other.
So those relationships where you feel truly seen, appreciated for you, not just what you do for the other person.
Exactly. And that circles back beautifully to Aristotle's point about those virtuous friendships being so crucial, seeing the inherent value of the other person. Which brings us to another cool concept from your script, this whole I-thou relationship thing from Martin Buber.
Okay, I'll admit, when I saw I-thou, I thought, this better be good. What's the deal with that?
It's actually really simple, but super profound. Basically, in an I-thou relationship, you see the other person as this fully realized being. Not just what they do for you or their role in your life, you value their whole being.
Which in today's world, it's so easy to have surface level connections, Social media and all that, we're hyper connected, but also kind of lonely.
Yeah, you hit on something there. It's a real paradox of modern life. And it's kind of wild how this script, it ties those old philosophical ideas to the struggles we're all facing today.
So lots of big philosophical ideas about connection, but
this is where it gets really interesting. We go from Plato to hard data, that Harvard study,
Oh, right. The one that followed those guys for 80 years, seriously, longer than most things last.
No kidding. It's called the Harvard Study of Adult Development. Started way back in 1938 with these 724 young guys.
Wow, 38. Okay, so what were they even looking for back then? Was it always about relationships?
That's the wild part. They started out studying success, health, smarts, family background, the usual suspects.
Right.
But over time, decades, they realized something huge. The biggest factor in these guys' happiness wasn't any of that. It was their relationships.
Get out of here. So the guys with close friends, good marriages, strong families, they were the ones who thrived.
Got it. Lived longer, healthier. Even their memory stayed sharper as they got older. Less pain, some studies suggest. It's like those bonds, they acted as a buffer against life-throwing curveballs.
It makes you wonder, we're always told it's about the job, the money, the stuff. Maybe this study's saying, nope, it's simpler than that. Connection.
And not just romantic, even though that's huge. Strong friendships, family, being part of a community, all of it mattered for these guys' well-being.
Makes total sense. We're social creatures, right? I mean, why else would we be glued to our phones all day trying to connect?
So true. Though, as your script points out, there's a difference between scrolling and actually having deep, meaningful connection. But good news, the script doesn't just leave us hanging. It's got advice. Practical stuff on how to actually build those stronger relationships.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. Because I don't know about you, but after a while, I'm like, enough philosophy, give me the to-do list.
Totally get it. So the first thing, it's going to sound obvious, be present.
Easier said than done these days, right? With everyone in their phone. Seriously, I catch myself doing it too. Phone in hand. instead of like actually being there with the person.
It's true. It's like that saying, being present is the greatest gift, because in that moment, you're choosing them over all the distractions and everything.
It's like saying, you matter more than my notifications, which honestly feels kind of radical these days.
Totally. And building on that presence, the script, it's big on empathy too.
Which, in the world right now, feels, I don't know, more important than ever.
For sure. And empathy, it's not just about being nice, right? It's really trying to get where someone else is coming from, even if you don't agree with them. Stepping outside your own bubble.
Which takes work, honestly, especially when it's someone with totally different views.
Absolutely. It's a practice, you know, like building a muscle. The more you use it, the better you get at tough conversations, disagreements. And that builds stronger relationships in the end.
So presence, empathy. What else does this script recommend for finding those meaningful connections?
Well, it reminds us that, relationships take time. It's not instant. It's being willing to, go the distance together.
Which is so not what our culture says these days, right?
Good.
Everything's got to be fast, swipe left, move on.
Exactly. But the funny thing is, we want those deep connections, but we don't always want to put in the work. This script's saying, embrace the long game. Challenges, they're not the end. They're how you grow closer.
It's seeing the value in sticking it out, even when things get messy.
Because often it's in those tough moments, the vulnerable ones, that you bond the most.
Makes me think about that last bit of advice from the script. Seeking out community.
Yeah, it's huge. We're not supposed to do life alone, right? Could be a book club, volunteering, even just chatting with your neighbors. Sharing those experiences does something to you.
It takes a village, right? That old saying, we thrive when we're connected to something bigger.
And you can find community anywhere, honestly. It's got to be open to it, saying yes to new things. Sometimes the best connections, they find you.
Man, I needed this deep dive. Philosophy to research, it all says the same thing. Connection matters. For a good life, a happy life.
Powerful stuff. Especially now, when it's so easy to feel disconnected. Maybe the most radical thing we can do is just prioritize each other. Really invest in the people who make life, meaningful.
Couldn't agree more. And honestly, this has got me thinking about my own relationships. Time to do some nurturing, I think.
Never a bad idea. Because when you look at the connections we have, those are the threads that make up the whole picture, the whole tapestry of life.
Beautifully put. And on that note, dear listener, we'll leave you with this. What's one small thing you can do this week to strengthen a connection in your own life? Till next time, happy connecting.